Latino children learn more effectively from teachers that look like them.
That's right.
Teachers who are their same complexion, their same color. That's right. Come on. So it's very imperative that God gives you somebody that resembles you. That's right. You feel a little bit more comfortable. Come on, sir. But all praise is due to Allah. So, brothers and sisters, I know that you are here to get a cool drink from our beloved brother and friend, Brother Nuri Muhammad.
That's right.
We all know that his subject is the handbook for a runaway slave.
Yes, sir.
I said the handbook for runaway slaves. Now, I don't want you to be nervous because you see book. Because according to the Nielsen Consumer Report that came out a few years ago, they said that black people in America spend $19 billion on phone service. I said $19 billion on phone service.
That's a lot of money.
Only $321 on books.
Oh my God.
I know you see book, you might be a little nervous. But hell, Brother Nuri figured that if Steve Jobs gave us the MacBook,
yeah, that's right.
We got the Kindle book, we got the e-book, we're quite sure Brother Nuri can give you a handbook.
That's right.
Oh, praise I think our brother is ready. He's anxious. He's ready to go. He's like a lion in the cage back there. We want to introduce our brother right. So, with no more from myself, let's bring up a hard-working, hard-studying, diligent, soldier, representative of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Brother Nuri Muhammad. All praise to you. With warm round of applause.
Alaikum salam, sir.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who intervened in our affairs in the form of a well-made man named Master Father Muhammad. We forever thank him for not only coming among us, but for searching among us and finding one that he could do, as Brother Hart mentioned, set up as the supreme example of what black people could become if we submitted to the truth.
That's right.
The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said that when God came and taught him, he didn't teach him and take him with him. He taught him and then he put him back on top of the junk pile.
Yes, right.
You know what the junk pile is. The rest of us that were in Negro civilization. He said, Allah God came and he shined me up and put me back on top of the pile, so that the rest of the pieces in the junk pile would know that if they put their lives in the same hand I put my life, then they too could shine. We thank Allah for the most honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
I said we thank Allah for the most honorable Elijah Muhammad.
That's right.
Anytime you hear the name Elijah Muhammad mentioned, you should be shaking your head.
That's right.
Clapping your hands. You should be on your feet with the most thunderous round of applause you can give. For if there were no Elijah Muhammad, there never would have been a Malcolm X. If there were no Elijah Muhammad, there wouldn't have been a Muhammad Ali.
That's right. Yes, sir.
If there were no Elijah Muhammad, there wouldn't have been an H. Rap Brown. There wouldn't have been a Kwame Ture. If there were no Elijah Muhammad, there wouldn't have been a Black Panther Party. If there were no Elijah Muhammad, there wouldn't be nobody in America talking about Jesus was a black man. If there were no Elijah Muhammad, there wouldn't be a little Farrakhan. Hell, if there was no Farrakhan, there wouldn't be a Huckman.
That's right. Go ahead. Yes, sir. That's right. Yes, sir.
He is a Georgia-born God.
Yes.
He is the one that God raised for us.
Yes.
To lead us, to teach us, and guide us back to the straight path of God, that we can become that proud, powerful, productive, and pious people. We once were before we were kidnapped and Caucasianized and westernized and robbed of our name, culture, and religion by this white man in America. If we don't connect to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we're going to stay in hell.
Right.
But if we connect to him, he will put us in heaven at once.
Right.
We thank Allah for the most honorable
Yes, sir.
Elijah Muhammad. And of course, you know, like I know, we wouldn't be talking about those two.
Come on.
Or anybody else if it wasn't for this one.
Yes.
That's in our midst today, that in my humble opinion is the combination of the spiritual DNA of both Master Fard Muhammad and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, all clothed in one flesh. In fact, I'm willing to step out there and say that whatever leader you love, whatever freedom fighter you admire, whatever messenger, whatever martyr that you look up to, look at the characteristics of all of those in the past and then look at Farrakhan. And I guarantee you, in no limit of time, whatever you like about Harriet Tubman is in Farrakhan.
That's right.
Whatever you like about Martin Luther King is in Farrakhan.
Yes, sir.
If you like what you like about Jesus, study Farrakhan and you see Jesus in Farrakhan.
Right.
You see Muhammad in Farrakhan.
Yes, sir.
You see Moses in Farrakhan. You see Garvey in Farrakhan. You see Noble Drew Ali in Farrakhan. You see W.E.B. Du Bois, Frederick Douglass, Nat Turner, Denmark Vesey, Gabriel Prosser, run the road. There has never been one that has been the consolidation of all like this one we have in our midst today. That's right. Thank you for listening. I greet you. Before I began, I have to say that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan asked me to extend his love and greetings of Assalamu Alaikum. We will do just that. And for anybody looking around at us thinking there was something wrong with us for what we just did, no, ain't nothing wrong with us, but it is something wrong with you if you had a problem with it. Because last I checked, right here in Newark, New Jersey, when that no good ham sandwich eating judge walks out,
That's right.
huh?
Yes, sir.
When the president of the city council comes out, whenever the head of the school board comes out, there's always somebody in the corner in one of them little fake police uniform. Yes, sir. Called the bailiff.
Yes, sir.
And when that corrupt congressman or that surreptitious senator or that ham sandwich eating judge or that school board president or that head of the city council walks out, they always tell everybody as soon as they enter the room, all right? And then you got the nerve to say, the honorable Judge so-and-so. Now, Farrakhan more honorable than any judge. And he's more mercy than he stood for after all he's been standing for us for 65 years. You know, anytime he sends his love and greetings, we are duty bound to stand erect with a smile on our face and say, please return that greetings of peace and power and prosperity and completeness and wholeness back to that beautiful man that saved my life.
That's right.
So that's the reason why we do what you just seen us do.
Yes, sir.
Y'all okay with that?
Yes, sir.
Well, we are thankful to Allah to be here again in the great city of Newark, New Jersey.
That's right.
And I'm honored to be able to share space and time with a wonderful helper of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, your student minister. Let's give it up for our brother Abdul Haq Muhammad. May Allah continue to bless you and to grow you and to increase you. And may Allah bless us to continue to grow and increase, that we can be the proper types of tools, instruments, and weapons in the hands of the Messiah, that he can use us to destroy this no good, wicked, white supremacist, satanic world, and build a new world that is ruled by the laws, statutes, and commandments of God. We thank Allah for our brother. Thank you, brother. Let's give him another round of applause. To all of the laborers and the believers of Muhammad Mile Summer 25, I've been so excited to be here. We had a good set last night. Dealing with, well, it became accidentally on purpose a winning at black love session last night. That's right. We had 4 books that we were presenting and questions that could have been brought from those books or those subjects, but it seemed like all of the questions were angled specifically on male and female relationships. Well, you know we having some problems in that category. Do you know that 2 years up from slavery in 1867, according to the McKinley-Irvin report done in 2015, that when we were 2 years up from slavery, all of the adult black men and women that were adults 90% of all black adults were in fact married. And that 90% that were married had a near 100% success ratio. But in 2015, when they did the observation of how many eligible black adults actually were married, it wasn't 90% anymore, it was only 40%. I said it was only 40%. That means 4 out of 10 that could be married, 4 out of 10 that should be married were not married. And out of that 4 that were married out of the 10, only 1 of the 4 was going to make it past 8 years. Which means that we have a 75% divorce rate. This is a major problem, brothers and sisters.
Yes, sir. Right.
Because the institution of marriage and the black family has always been our power base.
Yes. Yes.
Teach on.
Whenever you live in a world like this and you have to fight every day in the white man's world, you want to come home to your home.
That's
and
right.
Your home, when marriage is done right, should be a spiritual recharge center.
Right.
Where you can unplug from this no good, wicked, white supremacist world that loves to tell you no at every turn. That loves to make it hard for you to be successful in every field of human endeavor. And after you go out in this world trying to earn a living for your family, suffering from contusions and abrasions and lacerations and being abused by this world, you want to come to a place called your home.
Right.
Where you can unplug from the wickedness of this world and plug into a pure source of love. Where you can extract both peace and power from the place you call home.
That's right.
But what happens whenever there is animosity inside of the home?
Come on.
What happens whenever there is disagreement inside of the home? What happens whenever the man and the woman are not getting along with one another in peace? The place that's supposed to be the recharge center becomes a secondary source of energy draining. And now I've been drained by the white man's world. He came home to get recharged and end up getting double zapped again. So by the time I get finished being drained and beat up in the world, drained and beat up at home, I'm worth nothing to God, self, family, and my people.
Yes, go ahead.
So it becomes a major thrust that has to be done. The black family must be fixed.
Yes, sir.
Our enemies knew, and I got to say this before I begin. There's a question that was put out yesterday by a good brother that we did not get a chance to answer. And the brother sent the question up, and I told him that we would answer it today. He said, how important is teaching and learning black history and culture in black marriage and in black family life? It's very important. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, out of all of our studies, history is best qualified to reward the researcher. Now, in this world, we've been taught all of our lives that experience is the best teacher.
Come on.
That's a lie.
Come on.
Experience might be the most effective teacher. Because there's only 2 types of knowledge you ever going to get in this world. That's taught knowledge and bought knowledge.
All right.
Taught knowledge is what you get by observing other people and reading books. But bought knowledge is what you learn when you pay for it with your own life experience.
That's right.
It is written in the 3rd chapter, the 4th verse of the Gospel of Big Mama. What?
That's right.
Now, Big Mama got a gospel too. There's some stuff Big Mama said that's just as true as what Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and John said.
That's right.
Huh? Think about what Big Mama do. Birds of a feather.
Locked together.
That's Big Mama. That ain't the Bible. You lie down with dogs, you gonna get up with me?
Please.
That's not a Quran verse. That's Big Mama, but it's the truth. A family that prays together.
Stays together.
That's not an ayat of the Quran. That's Big Mama, but it's the truth.
Yes, sir.
God helps those who
Help themselves.
That's not a Bible verse. while wise people learn from others.
Right.
I said, Brother Huck, why does everybody always say experience is the best teacher?
Teach on.
Then I start wondering, I said, well, who invented this saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because the Bible says that a good tree can produce bad fruit.
Right.
And a bad tree can produce good fruit. I remember one time the minister, we was doing the Holy Day of Atonement, and it was called, or Savior's Day, it was called the New Educational Paradigm. And the minister said in the lecture, he said, I was looking up the definition of the word happiness. And he said, no, not in the dictionary.
Go ahead. Teach.
But I consulted myself.
Yes.
And my word is bond. I was sitting right here like Brother Hart on the stage, and the first thought that came on my mind was, yeah, who in the hell is Webster anyway? And what made him so qualified to give the definitions of these words? And he ain't been doing too good on some of the most important words.
That's right.
The minister said that after consulting himself, he said, I found that happiness comes when one has found their purpose for living.
That's right.
And they are fulfilling that person. That soul will have an unspeakable joy. See, all our life we've been trained that happiness comes from feeling full the pot. But in this divine definition from the mind of Farrakhan, happiness does not come from feeling full of the pocket, but from fulfilling your purpose. And you'll find, brothers and sisters, that you will be happier making less money doing what you love than getting paid more doing what you don't like or doing it for somebody that you do not like. So I said, well, who came up with this saying, experience is the best teacher? And when we traced it back, we found that Julius Caesar was the originator of the stand. Julius, I'm talking about the enemy of Jesus. Well, if a bad tree can't produce good fruit and Julius Caesar was a no good ruler, how can we accept his definition of where knowledge should come from? So no, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, not experience is the best teacher, but history is best qualified to reward the researcher. Why? Because if you know what was, then you know what is. And if you know what is, you are prepared for what is to come. Y'all all right?
Yes, sir.
In the Holy Quran, it doesn't tell you to go out experimenting on yourself. It says travel the earth and study the ends of those that have gone before you. That's one of the greatest lessons that I will submit to all of the young brothers and sisters that are moving through life, striving to find your purpose for living. Trying to figure out how to be successful in life, trying to make that transition from being a child to an adult. You've got to travel the earth and study the ends of those that have gone before you. You've got to go out and interview people that are what you want to be. And also interview people that are what you don't want to be.
Come on.
I learned this lesson accidentally on purpose.
Come on.
Y'all understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, sir.
You heard of somebody saying I was jokingly serious?
That's right.
Well, one day when I was young, I was sitting on the porch. And at the time, I was in the streets hustling, but I didn't like the way selling dope was making me feel. I felt myself, as I was selling dope, I felt myself dying on the inside. And I felt I was losing love for some of the things that I was supposed to love, including my own mother and family.
Yes, sir. Teach on.
And as I was sitting on the porch one day, a thought came to my mind. I wonder what the dope fiends were doing when they were my age. And this day, instead of going to the trap house or the liquor store serving the dope fiends, I decided to go and do an interview in the hood. And I start moving from dope fiend to dope fiend, trap spot to trap spot, asking them, brother, what were you doing when you were my age? And all of them said, oh, when we were your age, we was getting money just like you.
Yes, sir.
I said, what, getting money just like me? What do you mean, cutting grass? Or what do you mean? Painting houses? No, we was hustling.
Yes, sir.
And it dawned on me that if I'm doing what they were doing whenever they were my age, then I'm en route to be doing what they are doing when I become their age. And in the words of Bishop Bullwinkle, I said, hell no. No. That song went out back then, but that was my thought process. So I learned something then, that you got to interview people you don't want to be like.
Yes, sir.
And if you ask them what they were doing when they were your age, if you have anything you're doing that matches what they are doing, you got to renegotiate your habits immediately.
Oh, yeah. Right. Teach on.
Otherwise, you are en route to becoming them when you are their age. But there was a missing ingredient that I did not have, that I want to share with the young sisters and brothers today. You should also interview people that you do want to be like. And ask them what they were doing when they were your age.
Yes, sir.
And what you'll find, young sisters and brothers, is not only will they tell you what they did when they were your age that worked, they'll also tell you some things that they did that didn't work. And they'll tell you another list of things that they wish they would have done. And do you know, young sisters and brothers, if you take the person that you want to be like and you do what they did that worked, eliminate the things that did not work, and then replace it with the things that they wish they would have done, you can become them faster than they became themselves. So if your mind is, I want to be an engineer, find you an engineer that looks like you that already is successful and get your interview on. If you want to be successful in real estate, find a brother that already is successful in real estate and ask them that question. No, history is best qualified. So the brother's question was, how important is it? It's very important. It was so important that the white man knew that our power base has always been our black family.
That's right.
It's always been a place where we were learning our customs,
Right.
where we learned our culture,
Right.
where we learned our history,
Right.
where we were told stories that had inside of the stories principles that would activate in us later on in life and make us live up to the legacy of the name of our family.
Yes, sir.
So when Napoleon was hired in 1789 by the rulers of England, his mission was to destroy all of the images of black excellence in the world. And when he went into Africa and he began destroying all of the original images of the messengers, the prophets that look like you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I only got 3 people that agree with me.
Yes, sir.
That's right. Go ahead.
Okay, let's rewind the tape. But you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So when Napoleon went in and he began to destroy all of the images of black excellence, messengers and prophets that look like you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Did you know Abraham was a black man?
Yes, sir.
According to the Bible, it says when Abraham was in Egypt, they thought he was an Egyptian. The word Egypt in Greek is Aeptis, which means land of black and burnt-skinned people. How can Abraham be mistaken for an Egyptian if Egyptians are black and burnt-skinned unless he had black burnt skin too?
That's right.
Moses said he stuck his hand into the bosom of the Lord, and when he took it out, it was turned white. But if it was turned white, it had to go in black. Job said, my skin is black. Solomon said, I am black, but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem. But wait a minute, wasn't Solomon David's son? And if Solomon was David's son and Solomon was black, then David was black. And did not Jesus say, I am of the root and the offspring of David? So if David was a black man and one of his roots or offspring, Solomon was black, and Jesus is another one, Jesus was a black man too. So they destroyed all of those images. Then Napoleon, before he left Egypt, he looked and seen this thing that they called the Sphinx, which is the body of a lion with the head of a black man on it.
That's right.
That's right.
You say, how do you know it was the head of How do you know it was the head of the black man? Because when you ask your history teacher in school, why is the nose and the lips eroded? They'll tell you it's because of weathering. Sandstorms. Just the process of time and natural erosion. But if we were wise, if we used a little bit of inference, deduction, and reasoning, if we used a little logic and rational thought process, we should have asked the question, well, if weather messed up the nose and the lips, why come the same weather didn't mess up the tail and the claws and the ears and the eyes? Why did the weather only mess with the nose and the lips?
That's right.
Said the reason why the nose and the lips are missing is because the original nose on the Sphinx was a broad black man's nose. Thick black lips. And what the white man didn't want us to do is see the lion, king of the jungle. He knew then and knows now that there's something in education called image association.
That's right.
They say it like this: a picture is worth
1,000 words.
That means for every image that you see, there's an educational system that goes with it. Your mind begins teaching yourself whenever you see a certain image. They knew that if we seen by the law of image association, lion, king of the jungle, black man's head on it, then maybe my ancestors are trying to tell me I'm the king of this planet. And they didn't want no people like that. And then to top it all off, written in Arabic underneath the Sphinx is the Arabic words Abu el-Haw, which means father of everything. See, you can't believe you're the father of everything and still be a slave. You can't believe you're the father of everything and submit to a black inferiority complex. You can't believe that you're the father of everything and operate with a mind that's defeated. So the white man knew that was counterproductive. But guess what else Napoleon seen? He didn't just go inside the temples and get rid of all of the images of black and divine. He didn't just blow the nose and lips off the Sphinx, but he went inside the pyramid that the Sphinx is outside of, called the Great Pyramid Giza. The Great Pyramid Giza is 451 feet tall. It goes down into the earth 451 feet deep. It covers 13.5 acres of land. It's made of 1 million stones made of gold, marble, and limestone, and it's stacked mathematically precise. Each stone weighing more than a ton, 3.5 tons, and they are stacked mathematically precise, north to south, east to west, not even deviating 1 square inch. And black people built it without John Deere and without Caterpillar. We built it without a bulldozer or a crane. We used the power of psychokinesis, mind over matter.
That's right.
And we moved the stone with the electrochemical energy of the power of thought. That's the original black man. And inside these pyramids, the historians tell you that the greatest history keepers in the world were always the Egyptians. And on the walls of the pyramids, if you ever go and look at the gods of Egypt, Osiris, Osar, you go and look at the gods of Egypt, Alafun, you'll notice that next to Osiris, and Alafun, it looks like somebody been scraping away an image.
Yes, sir.
And what you'll find is that next to Alafun always was his wife Ilida.
Yes, sir.
Next to Osiris was always his queen Isis.
Yes, sir.
And next to Osar was always his queen Aset. But they wanted to get rid of the image of the black woman standing next to the black man. Because what would happen to the mind of us that said, man, if they were gods and they were gods and they didn't have a white girl,
Right.
they were gods and they were gods and they didn't have a girlfriend.
Right.
But a wife, they were gods and they didn't have another man with them.
Yes, sir.
They didn't want you and I to know that not behind but beside every great black man has always been a great and strong black woman. So history is very important. Well, you know, whenever this subject got put out via social media, well, I'm going to tell you this, Brother Hart, didn't no white people say nothing negative about it. And you'll find, brothers and sisters, once you make your mind that you're going to fight for the liberation and salvation of your people, you not only will have to clash with white supremacy, but you also got to be ready to go to war with negativity.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Did y'all hear what I said?
Yes, sir.
I know that ain't in the dictionary, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. What is negativity? Negativity is a special type of negative that only black people know how to do to one another.
Talk about it.
And what's so crazy is that when we put the subject out, handbook for a runaway slave, we didn't get no fee kickback from Doug or Biff or Muffy or none of them. But LaQuisha and them. Tyrone and them.
Right.
Little T and them. And you're going to find when you start fighting for black people that your number one opponent won't be from the outside in, white versus black. But it will be from the inside out, where there will be a self-appointed, volunteer, no 401k, no dental, pro bono Negro defense attorney for white folks. There's always going to have some slick to say. True. And they always tell you, especially when the subject of slavery comes up, that was then, and this is now. Y'all heard this before, huh?
Yes, sir.
Can we just let bygones be?
Bygones.
Can we just let the past be the
past?
But ain't it something that the same Negro that would challenge us for talking about slavery will never challenge white people when they tell each other, remember the Alamo.
That's right.
9/11, never forget.
That's right.
Holocaust, never again.
That's right.
So you mean to tell me that when it comes time to what white people have suffered at Pearl Harbor, or what white people have suffered in the Alamo, or what white people suffered in war, you mean to tell me that when it's their time, we're supposed to remember, never forget, never again? But when you look at the black Holocaust, you can put the Jewish Holocaust, 9/11, the Alamo, and Pearl Harbor together and multiply it by 100, and it won't even equal up to 10% of the suffering of the black. No, it's us that should be talking about never again. It's us that should be talking about never forget. It's us that should be talking about we always got to remember. Because at the end of the day, ain't nobody caught more hell than we have caught.
That's right.
Did you know that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said history's best qualified to reward all research, and his chief student said this, that 90% of all of our problems came from plantation life?
Yes, sir.
You didn't hear what I just said. The stuff we're doing to one another in the hood is a fact.
That's right.
It's not called.
Yes, sir.
We were trained
Yes, sir.
and indoctrinated, baptized mentally into self-hatred. And unfortunately, our association with the white man has breeded an assimilation into being like them. So everything you read during slavery that white people did to black people, today black people are doing it to one another. Yesterday they killed us because of the color of our skin. Today we'll kill one another off of the colors we wear. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yesterday they forced us to eat swine flesh. Today we buy swine flesh.
Talk about it.
Cooked pig.
Yes, sir.
We can't even leave the vegetable alone.
Go ahead.
The green bean still got to have a foot in it.
Yes, sir.
The greens got to have some bacon slid in there. Am I telling the truth?
Yes, sir.
And then when we get finished putting these greens, which really aren't vegetables, they're weeds, and this pork, that they ain't never had nothing good on the commercial to say, all they just say is pork. The other white meat. They can't tell you nothing good about it. And then after we get finished with the ham hocks and the chitterlings.
That's right. That's it. That's what it is. Yes, sir.
Say it right.
You know how they smell, though, don't you? After that, they put the cornbread, the greens, the black-eyed peas, the bacon in the black-eyed peas, the ham in the bacon, the foot in the greens. And then when we serve it, we got the audacity to call it soul food. That ain't soul food, that's slave food. Yesterday they branded us, today we tattooed up.
Tatted up.
Yesterday, whenever somebody was on a small plantation, they was at odds with Negroes on the big plantation, and vice versa. Today, the Negro that worked at McDonald's is mad at the one that worked for Chrysler. At the end of the day, they both still plantations. In fact, last I checked, don't they call it the Chrysler plant, the Ford plant, the Chevy plant, the General Motors plant, the Subaru plant? Well, plant is an abbreviation for plantation. We still in slavery. Y'all all right?
Yes, sir.
90% of all of our problems. Why? He said, whoever gives you the diameter of your knowledge, prescribes for you your circumference of activity. This is the reason why listen to what I'm telling you, there has never been another teacher among us that has been more vilified than the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Never has there ever been another teacher that the government, the ATF, the CIA, Homeland Security, the Synagogue of Satan, fake Jews, the Christian world, the Muslim world, everybody has come out to say something about Farrakhan. I'm not saying that Marcus Garvey wasn't great. I'm not saying that Noble Drew Ali wasn't great. I'm not saying that Malcolm X didn't do some good things. But I will tell you this. During their time, there never was people running for president. And they had to take a Garvey litmus test. Or Frederick Douglass litmus test. Or W.E.B. Du Bois litmus test. But everybody running for the high office in the ranks. Anytime before you even can make it to the top level of campaigning, they want to know, what do you think about Farrakhan? Do you know, sisters and brothers, that they use your judgment of Farrakhan to determine how awake or asleep you are, how alive or dead you are, how much they can count on you to do their bidding or not? That's right. This man is a threat, because what he has in his mouth, guess what it does? It expands the diameter of your knowledge. And if the diameter of knowledge prescribes the circumference of activity, you got an earth 7,926 miles in diameter, therefore its circumference is 24,896 miles. That's right. You have a universe that has a diameter of 76 quintillion miles. Go ahead. Therefore the circumference of the universe is 238 quintillion. 740 quadrillion, 104 trillion miles in circumference. The longer the diameter, the larger the circumference. How many times have black people been saying, man, I'm tired of all this talking, we got to do something. I'm tired of having all these meetings, we got to do something. Well, if we don't talk and we don't meet, then the diameter of knowledge will never be expanded to produce in us the adequate circumference of activity that we can actually build something when we start engaging in work. He becomes afraid of fear. In a book called Slavery, the African-American Psychic Trauma by Sultan and Naeem Latif, they did a study on the decision-making process of black people in America. And after several surveys, they found that only 6% of the decisions that we make came from our original God-centered African culture, but 94% of everything we do right now came from the plantation.
Listen, come on, man.
So it becomes a requirement that we got to go back and look at slavery, plantation life, and then we've got to figure out how can we develop a handbook that we can become some runaway slaves.
Teach on.
Now, of course, this book or this lecture sparked a lot of controversy because right now they have a movie out called Harriet.
That's right.
And I will say to you this, the Harriet Tubman in the movie is not the same Harriet Tubman from history. This movie is a revised, authorized, King James version of the story of Harriet Tubman that has been diligently compared and revised. Whenever the people start checking them in the movie industry, Hollywood gave a response. They said, well, we took creative liberties.
Right.
In Hollywood, creative liberties is called lying. The same way when you hear Trump talk about, well, we have a set of alternative facts. In politics, alternative facts means a lie. In the streets, we call it capping.
That's right.
You lying. The real Harriet Tubman, who really is the poster child of a runaway slave. The story has been modified. It's been watered down. It's been altered from its original form. There never was black men, slave hunters, hunting down Harriet Tubman. Did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
John Tubman, her husband, wasn't that supportive husband that they showed.
Yes, sir.
When Harriet Tubman came to John Tubman and said, I found a route that I think that we can use to become free and make others free.
Go ahead.
Naturally, the first person you want to talk to, if you are a wife, is your husband.
That's right.
Sisters?
Yes, sir.
Brothers, the first person you should want to talk to when you got an idea is your wife. Because a husband to a wife is, and a wife to a husband, see, your mate should be your primary soundboard that you bounce ideas off of. And the job of a good wife or a good husband is whenever your mate gives you a noble idea, your job is to take the idea, add a little bit to it. Take a little bit out of it, and then package it back up and give it back to them better than they gave it for you. That's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. But John Tubman wasn't that type of black man. Harriet Tubman came and said, I got a way we can do this. Here's the route. I'm using you, John. You're my soundboard. I'm bouncing an idea off of you. I need you to take my idea, John. Take my idea of freeing the slaves, and I need you to take a little out, add a little to it, repackage and give it back to me better than I gave it to you. But John Tubman didn't support his wife. John Tubman said, I don't think that's a good idea. And then Harriet Tubman said, well, I'm going to do it one way or the other. With or without you. I'm doing it.
That's us.
And Harriet Tubman told her husband, and guess what John Tubman said? If you do it, I don't know he did this, but it just seems like it. I was going to tell on you. I can't prove he shuffled, but it just sounds like a shuffle with a winner. That kind of pulse.
Yeah.
Do you know that one of the first times that Harriet Tubman ran for freedom, the one that hunted her down and brought her back to slavery was her own damn husband? John Tubman went out and captured Harriet Tubman and brought her back to the plantation on behalf of the master. Now, when Beyonce makes the new song on Crazy Love, that should be the one.
I know that's right.
That's crazy love right there. That you love your white slave master more than you love your own wife and her freedom. That you were something wrong with that kind of mathematics.
That's right.
And when Harriet Tubman came and said, I'm going to go, whether you like it or not, he said, I'm going to tell. Harriet Tubman said, well, I've come to the decision that there's one or two things that I must have in my life, and that's either freedom or death. And she went out there to make it happen.
Yes.
Harriet Tubman made a revolutionary statement, though.
Yes, yes.
She said, I freed
yes.
1,000 slaves.
Come on.
And I could have freed
Yes.
1,000 more. Listen to this. If only they had knew that they were slaves.
Exactly.
See, these self-appointed, pro bono, volunteer, no insurance, no dental, Negro defense attorney for white folks to tell you let the past be the past. These are the type of house niggas.
Yes, come on. Right.
That don't even realize that you and I are still in slavery right now.
That's right. Yes, sir.
Slavery is a business.
Yes.
That's right.
Do you know what the goal of any business is? When you start a business, your goal is to put your own time and your own money and sweat equity in it for a little while. But the goal of any business creator is to create what's called a turnkey operation.
That's right.
Which means you create job description, roles, function, rules and bylaws, recipes and systems, and then you give it to whoever. And as long as they work the system, you don't have to be there doing it yourself, and you still make profit from the business.
Right.
Is that the truth?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
Well, if slavery is a business, the white man made up in his mind, I don't want to have to be there as no overseer forever.
Right.
I don't want to have to be there with no whip or no gun making you pick cotton. So they created systems, rules, job description, laws, bylaws, and put it into place so that slavery could run on its own.
Right.
Are y'all still all right?
Yes, sir.
One of the people that had feedback, you know what they said? They said, man, slavery is dead and gone. And I ain't, handbook for one. I ain't no slave no more. Right. Well, we asked them a question.
Yes, sir.
If you're not a slave anymore, why do you say so? I can go wherever I want to go, do whatever I want to do. I can say whatever I want to say. Yeah, question is, what you doing? Where you going? And what you talking about? And if we ain't talking about nothing, doing nothing, and going nowhere, that's a sign that there's no need for physical shackles to be on the chains for the feet. When there's invisible psychological chains that have locked up our mind. Since every voluntary act of the human body must first start off as a thought. And the thought encourages the body to engage in the appropriate muscular activity that matches the nature of the thought. When you think a thought, it's going to become a word. When you speak a word, it's going to become an action. You do an action, it's going to become a habit. A habit will form your character, and character will dictate your destiny or future. So a real slave master knows, I don't have to worry about your future, I just got to worry about your thought. Come on. And if I got your mind, I got your hand. But the hand can't do what the mind don't tell it.
That's right.
Yeah, we can go wherever we want to go, but if we ain't going nowhere, that's a sign that the mind got the hand locked down. We can do whatever we want to do, but if we're not building, the mind got the hand locked down. Yeah, you can say whatever you want to say, but what we talking about? Slavery is still in effect. Y'all still all right?
Yes, sir.
In the books that I would suggest that you can take as a study, and as Brother Hart said, it's a shame that we spend right now $23 billion a year on clothes as a people.
Wow.
We spend $19 billion a year on our cell phone service plan and $3.2 billion keeping up with the latest cell phone every year. We spend $46 billion a year on cars. And by the time you get finished doing the math on Duke, Just for Men, do-rags, don't-rags, 28-inch Brazilian wavy, it ends up becoming an unbelievable number. Trillions of dollars. We spend over $30 billion a year dressing up the outside the head. But when it comes to dressing up the inside of the head with knowledge, we only spend as a people $302 million on books. Wait a minute, if you got 46 million people and you got 302 or $321 million spent on books, you divide 321 million by 46 million black people, that means that we spend about $3 and some change a piece a year. Hell, that means we ain't bought nothing but a magazine.
That's right. That's a magazine. Right.
We ain't even bought a whole book. But these books about Harriet Tubman are good. One's called Harriet Tubman by Marion Taylor and Nathan Irving. Another one's called Freedom Train by Dorothy Sterling. Another one, Harriet Tubman, Moses of the Underground Railroad by Anne E. Schroff. Another book called Scenes in the Life of Harriet Tubman by Sarah H. Bradford. And what you'll find when you study the real true history of this poster child for what a runaway slave should look like, Harriet Tubman, you'll find that there's certain characteristics that she exhibited that if we want to be free today, we got to exhibit them too.
Yes. Yes.
Do you know the number one trait that gave Harriet Tubman staying power? In truth, that gave Nat Turner, Denmark Vesey, Gabriel Prosser, Marcus Garvey, that gave the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and is giving the honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan staying power on this battlefield?
Come on.
It is that they believed and understood that to serve black people is serving God.
Yes, yes.
Did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Nat Turner was cutting white folks' heads off in the name of Allah.
Yes, sir.
Come on. What?
Yes, sir. Good.
Kicking down doors. Denmark Vesey and them was kicking down doors in the name of God. They believed that freeing the slaves was the will of God. I wonder what would happen to us if we define service of black people as service of God. Where would we be at right now?
Yes.
Harriet Tubman and all of the great ones had a deep root and faith in Almighty God Allah. And you cannot do the work of trying to lead your people if you don't see that the leading and serving your people is serving God. Because black people are hard to deal with.
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
We have a bad history as a people when it comes to our leadership.
Yes, sir.
We run our leaders' names through the streets while they are alive, and then name the street after them after they're dead.
Come on. Teach on.
We're supposed to be praying for our leadership.
Right.
But most of the time we pray on our leadership.
Right.
That's right.
With black people, when you're in leadership, you damned if you do and you damned if you don't.
Exactly.
Soon as if you don't have no money and you poor, first thing black people say, look, I can't follow him, man. Dude broke. He ain't got nothing, man. Look how he living, man. He can't be none of my leader. The same Negro that say, I ain't gonna follow you because you don't have nothing. Soon as you start working and you actually get something, will be the same one that say, you know what, see, you still in the money. So you damned if you got too little, you damned if you got too much, you just damned regardless.
Right.
So to stay consistent and have staying power fighting for black people, you have to know that serving black people is serving God.
That's right.
And when you are serving your people, don't look for the reward of your service to come from the people you serve. Look for your reward to come from your Lord.
Go ahead.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Now look, to the leaders, let me say this to you. Allah is not the Lord of New Jersey or the Lord of Mosque number 25. He is the Lord of all the world. So the law of reciprocity with the God is a little different than the law of reciprocity for a regular farmer or gardener. And farming and gardening, wherever you sow, that's where you're going to reap. But with God, since He's the Lord of all the world, you can sow in New Jersey and reap in Oakland.
That's right.
You can sow in the physical world and reap in the spiritual world. You can do something outside for somebody else, and the God will do something inside you for you. So you never lose. When you serving black people in your mind serving God.
That's right. Go ahead.
Harriet Tubman was that kind of soldier.
Yes, sir.
Harriet Tubman was a selfless soldier. She received no grants, no salary, no endowments. She worked for her people, irregardless to what she got paid.
Right.
Can we do the same? Right. Harriet Tubman was also a woman that exhibited uncommon valor. Courage and valor are used synonymous with one another, but they mean two different things.
Right.
To have courage means that you are a person that is willing and able to face difficulty. But valor is when you face that difficulty with boldness and determination.
I like that. Yeah.
It ain't good enough to have courage. You got to have valor.
That's right.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
You can use courage for public speaking. You can use courage for a basketball game. But you need valor when you're getting ready to fight a war.
That's right.
And the minute that you make up in your mind that you get ready to work for the liberation and salvation of the black nation, you have just said, I'm a soldier on the battlefield.
Yes.
That's right.
Another thing about Harriet Tubman, this is a good lesson. Harriet Tubman was selective of the music and the conversation she allowed in her life, especially while they were moving on the Underground Railroad. And for the record, I got to tell you this. The Underground Railroad is not a real train.
Right.
I'm not going to ask how many of y'all thought it was a real train or a subway system. But I know when I first heard Underground Railroad, the first image that popped in my mind was the choo-choo train. The Underground Railroad is not a subway or a train. It's a secret route.
Right.
To get from south to... Y'all understand?
Yes.
Do you know Harriet Tubman wrote her own songs? Yes. She was a songwriter. Every song that they sang on the Underground Railroad were songs about being defiant against evil, rebelling against the white slave masters, and songs about the joy that freedom brings. I wonder what would happen if we start making music like that. See, ain't nothing wrong with the lyric. I mean, nothing wrong with the music that we have now. It's just something wrong with the lyrics.
Yes, sir.
Did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Did you know God Himself is a musician? Every instrument that they use to make music is a copy of one of the sounds God put in nature.
Right, sir.
So when you hear horns, there's birds in creation that sound just like the trumpet.
Yes, sir.
Birds that sound just like the saxophone.
Sir.
When you hear the what do they call them things that you shake? Cymbals and the maracas, tambourines, or the okay, all of it. You can find insects that sound just like that. Notice that when you hear the beat of a drum, it sounds like the same way a heartbeat sounds under a stethoscope.
Right.
If you ever listen to a loud crowd celebrating or cheering, and then you go put a seashell up to your ear at the ocean, a round of applause, a crowd celebrate, sounds just like the waves of the ocean. So God Himself is a musician. Ain't nothing wrong with the music. The horn, the drum, the sound, the cymbal, that's God's
sound.
Right.
What's something wrong with is the lyrics.
That's right.
That's right.
All day long. Yes, sir.
We need to put some liberation lyrics on this
Right.
music.
That's right.
We need to have some revolutionary rap.
Right.
We need to have some songs that talk about the struggle to be free.
That's right.
And Harriet Tubman was making sure she did that. Guess what else was one of the attributes in the handbook of the runaway slave of Harriet Tubman? Harriet Tubman was deeply religious, but not spooky.
Come on. Say that. Go ahead.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Somebody said no. All right, let me explain. Every year there's an argument over which religion is the biggest religion. That's right. And it's always Islam versus Christianity. That's right. So one year the Muslims say we got 1,250,000,000 Muslims. Next year the Christians say we got 1,300,000,000 Christians. The next year after that the Muslims say we got 1,500,000,000 Muslims. And then the year after that Christians say we got 1,505,000,000. That's right. But the biggest religion on the planet is not Islam, Christianity, or Judaism. The biggest religion on this planet is spookism.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
And unfortunately, you got Muslims, Christians, Jews, all of them involved in it.
Exactly.
What is spookism? Spookism is an extreme or excessive emotional attachment to a non-existent nothing. It's having faith in something that can do you no good and fear in an object that can do you no harm.
Right.
Spookism. So while Harriet Tubman was religious, she was not spooky. That's right. And I'm going to tell you something, sisters and brothers. I seen this book. One day, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was doing an interview, and he had this book with him. And whenever he held it up during the interview, of course, you know, if you're a student, first thing you want is to feed on what the teacher feeds on. So if he got one of them, I want one too. So while he was doing the interview, I started looking online trying to find the book. When I first found the book, it was $40. I said, man, it's kind of expensive. And I kept on and waited a couple minutes. Then I went back and looked at the book. If there was $40, there was none left. Kept looking. Next thing you know, within an hour, it was $100. I said, oh, man. I might want to go ahead and get this thing. I went ahead and ordered it for $97. Went on there about 20 minutes later, and there was none available, nowhere to be found. Wow. To this day, you cannot find this book nowhere in print, nowhere. What? This book is called Advice Among Masters, the Ideal in Slave Management in the Old South. Wow. This is a book where it is an expose of memos that were written from slave maker, slave traders, and slave masters to one another on tricks and tips on how to get the best productivity out of their slaves. Did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
And when you unpack the variables of this book, there's 3 key areas that they say must be controlled by the slave masters if they desire to keep the slaves in check. Number 1 is religious instructions. Number 2 is their diet. And number 3 is their family relations.
Wow. See?
I want you to look at black people's plight right now. Put us in the mirror. And when you do the math on the major source of our problems, it comes from being spooky-minded.
Yes, sir.
You know, like I know, in this world, the white man has developed a method by making everything that is great, either it's a white man that done it or a spirit did it.
Right.
And since you only can be inspired by something you have in common with, and if you don't have something in common with a thing, you won't compare yourself to it. If you don't compare yourself to it, you won't have a desire, and desire becomes food for the will. If you don't see yourself in an object, you don't think you can become it.
Come on.
So the white man has figured out a crafty way of making sure everything great in this world is either given credit to a white man or a ghost.
Yes, sir.
You know I'm telling the truth.
Yes, sir.
In language right now, everything that is white is good and everything black is bad.
That's right.
Go get the regular dictionary and look up white. And you're going to find when you look up white, there's 134 definitions for white. Almost all of them are favorable. But then go look up the definition of black. And there's 120 definitions of black, and almost all of them are negative. So in language, they got us loving white, hating black.
That's right.
Is this the truth?
Yes, sir.
In the old movies, the bad guys wore black and the good guys wore what? When you go into a funeral, everybody got on. And then you go into a wedding, everybody got on white. Is that the truth?
Yes, sir.
When the stock market crashed, they called it black money.
Yes, sir.
When you frame somebody, you set them up, you blackmail. If you're telling a little lie, it's a little white lie. But if you're telling a big, atrocious lie, it's a big black lie. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
When you're playing pool, the white ball is the ball that puts all the other balls into place. And the 8 ball is what color?
Black.
And if you knock it in too early, you lose the game. You can't even knock the black ball in at the end of the game and scratch where the white ball go into and win. You still lose.
Yes, sir.
Have you noticed that back in the day when they had the vending machine pool tables, that if you accidentally knocked in somebody's stripes and you were solids, their ball wouldn't come back to you?
That's right.
But if you scratched, meaning you knocked that white cue ball in, it would come back? Why would the white ball come back but the stripes and solids would not? It's because the white ball is bigger in size and heavier in weight than all of the other balls. What they did is, see the green felt represents the earth.
Come on.
And the balls on the table represent different nationalities of people. Subliminally, they're programming us to say that the white is the dominant. The white is the boss. The white puts everything in its place. And the white is the biggest and the heaviest of them all. You're having bad luck. You're behind the 8 ball. You got kicked out of a fraternity or sorority. You were black balls. Is that the truth?
Yes, sir.
You go inside the little gas station and you go to that little section where they sell the little little Debbies. You go in there and you go in there and get you some angel food cake. White cake with white ice. But go get you some devil food cake. Chocolate cake and
White.
see, this is all on a subliminal level. We don't even realize we're being programmed for self-hatred.
Drop it.
Even in folklore, we couldn't even get nothing good.
Come on.
When the little tooth fell out your baby's mouth.
Listen.
Come on now. You told him put it under the pillow and the tooth fairy gonna come. What did the tooth fairy look like? A little miniature white girl in a Victoria's Secret lingerie set with some chicken wings on her back. Huh? It's gonna come through the way a little white girl gonna give some money for the tooth. Come on now. Don't worry about falling in love when your time is right. Cupid will show up. Cupid ain't even black. Cupid's a little chubby little white baby. With them same chicken wings on his back. They're gonna shoot you in your butt with an arrow and then Shazam, love is there. And you know, like I know, that when we seen the rainbows while we were driving down the street, Mama and them didn't have no scientific analysis where they can teach us the mathematical breakdown of how the universe produces a rainbow. You never heard your mother say, no, son, look, see the rainbow, when you see the rainbow, what you're looking at, what's happening is that the moon and the sun have a magnetic appeal on the earth's waters. And they began to draw the waters up into a mist that the naked eye can hardly detect. And when that mist begins to gather at the ceiling of gravity 6 miles above the earth, it becomes heavier than gravitational pull and begins to distill back to the earth in the form of raindrops. And because the light of the sun has 58 facets of light inside of it, it begins to send rays through the raindrops that are falling, and each raindrop begins to reflect one of the different prisms of the 58 facets of light of the sun. Therefore, the rainbow is. You know you ain't never heard it like that. Come on now, what did mama say? Oh, shoot. There's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Not no black boy down there. A little white boy with a little leprechaun. Come on now. So what's being programmed? Love comes from white people.
Right.
Y'all seeing this?
Yes, sir.
Tooth Fairy give you money. Gold at the end of the rainbow, leprechaun. So money comes from white people. And then you know we getting ready to walk up into this season right now. Jolly old St. Nick. Huh? And I'm gonna tell the children something right now. And y'all might get mad at me, and I bet I see none of y'all covering up y'all baby's ears.
That's right.
Let me tell you something, little sisters and brothers. There is no such thing as Santa Claus. And you should be ashamed of yourself as a black mother. You working double time and overtime, picking up a second job.
Never get my
running your credit cards up,
right.
spending your tax returns in.
That's right.
And then at the end of all that, you going to give your baby all them good gifts and going to give credit to some imaginary fat white man and tricked out fireman suit from the North Pole. You work that hard, you should work your baby no more. I bought you that bike. My mama bought you that PlayStation. Your daddy bought you them Jordans. Hell no, you ain't giving credit to some imaginary white man. I did that.
That's right.
Ain't it something that they call him Saint Nick?
Break that down.
Do you know the word Nick in etymology in Latin means evil, wicked one, or devil? Have you noticed that they never spell out the name Saint? They just put ST period Nick? Because ST period is not just an abbreviation for saint, it's also an abbreviation for street, state, standard time, and Satan. Saint Nick really is Satan and evil. Santa Claus. If you move the N in Santa to the N, the word Santa becomes Satan. And if you drop the L, Claus becomes cause. Santa Claus is a representative of Satan's cause. There was a Saint Nick that lived in the North Pole. He was a child molester.
That's right. Tell the history.
He was a pedophile.
Look at that. Sitting on his lap.
Ask yourself, where do your babies take pictures at when they go to the mall? Have you noticed that your son don't stand next to Santa?
No, on his lap.
They always want your babies to be on Santa's lap.
That's right. Look at it.
Come on now.
That's right.
You all right, brothers? Then look at the song we sing. You better watch out. You better not cry. Well, what the hell's going on? Watch out, better not. What the hell you doing?
Santa Claus coming to town.
Hey, look, Santa Claus, and look what he knows when you're sleeping. And he knows when. How do you know all that if you ain't a peeping Tom?
How you know all that? When you go.
So Santa, no, brothers and sisters, there is no Santa Claus. Do you know that it is a mathematical impossibility for Santa Claus to actually be able to deliver a gift to everybody on the planet? Right. By mathematical computation, if Santa Claus was going to visit every house in the world that had children, he would have to visit 19,386 homes per second. Per second. Which means that Santa Claus's sleigh would have to be going at 655 miles per second, which is 3,000 times the speed of sound. And if every child was just getting a medium-sized Lego sleigh, the sleigh would weigh 321,300 tons, or 642,600,000 pounds.
Good God. Come on.
Hell, let that land on your house. Hell, let that land on New Jersey. Right. Damn state to go in. And then to top it all off, he ain't got but 8 reindeer.
They flying.
And maybe it's just my observation, but has anybody else also noticed that all the reindeer got stripper names?
Dixie and all the
What's going on? Do you know the maximum weight that a reindeer can pull is 300 pounds? In order for Santa to have the adequate amount of reindeer power, you all right?
Yes, sir.
To pull him and all them gifts, he would need a minimum of 214,200 reindeer pulling his sleigh.
Good God.
That's a lot. That's a lot of reindeers.
There ain't no Santa Claus. But the programming is what? I got you through language. Black is negative, white is clean and pure and positive. I got you through folklore. All greatness that comes, love comes, money comes, gifts come, compassion comes from white people. Then to top it all off, I made all the messengers white. All the prophets white. And the most destructive lie that has ever been told to the black psyche, as written by the author Dale Jones in a book called Psych War, there's never been a lie put in the black mind that has destroyed more synapses or bridges between brain cells like the lie that Jesus is a white man. Because Jesus is white and he's the Son of God. When my logic circuits kick in, if the Son of God is white and God is his Father, if the Son of God is white, then the Father has to be white. And if the Father is white and the Father is God, and God is good and God is love, and I am black and I'm black, and black is opposite of white. I'm the opposite of God. I'm the opposite of love. I'm the opposite of good.
That's right.
Even though we never did the math out loud, the way we treat one another proves we think like this.
Yes, sir.
Oh, praise you, so religious instruction. We got to come out of Spookville, brothers and sisters. That's right. Paul says in 1 Thessalonians 5:21, prove all things.
Go ahead.
And hold fast to that which is good.
Go ahead.
Oh man, I got to wrap it up. Y'all okay?
Yes,
Can I
sir.
get 7 minutes?
Yes, sir.
7 minutes. Do you know what it means to prove something? See, to prove something, you have to find material evidence in the present that verifies something could have happened in the past.
Go ahead.
If you can't find nothing in the here and now that verifies and validates what somebody said happened then, you cannot consider it to be the truth. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad says in Our Savior has arrived. Did you ever say our Savior has arrived?
Arrived.
You know, whoever told y'all Muslims don't believe in Jesus lied to you. We believe in Jesus. He's our rock. He's our sword. He's our shield. He's our personal Lord and Savior. The difference between us is that we believe in the right Christ, not the white Christ. The difference between us is that you think that Jesus is coming back. So we say our Savior has arrived.
That's right. Yes, sir.
It's just a scheduling conflict. You waiting on him to come. We say he already showed up. In the person of the honorable minister who is full of God. And the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. They got you looking for a character instead of looking for the characteristics. But Jesus said that there will be one that would come that will be called the Spirit of Truth. The Comforter. He will guide you into all truth. He said, it's expedient that I go away, for if I go not away, then he cannot come.
That's right.
Well, wait a minute. If Jesus is the one leaving and he's going to be the one coming back, why use the pronoun he? If I'm going to the store and I'm going to be the one bringing it back, I'm letting you know, look, I'm going around the corner to the store and I'll bring you back a loaf of bread. But if I tell you I'm going to the store, but he is going to bring you back a loaf of bread. First thing you should want to know is, what does the he look like? How will I know the he when he shows up? And according to Jesus, he says, you will know the he because he will bear witness to me. In other words, he will have my characteristics in him. He will be me in another form. He will look just like I look. The only difference is space and time. I submit to you today, study the characteristics of Jesus and lay the template of the characteristics righteousness of Christ over the character of Farrakhan. And tell me that you don't see congruency in the man you and I have among us today. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad says on our Savior Azariah 61 through 74, if you want to prove something to be true, you have to find verification in nature, math, science, and scripture.
Yes, sir.
Right.
If you can't find verification in them 4 areas, then you can't call it
True.
true.
That's right.
Because you got to prove all things and hold fast to that which is
Good.
Good.
well, if I can't prove it, I can't call it good. If I can't call it good, I can't hold on to it. Anything you can't prove in nature, anything you can't prove in science, anything that doesn't agree with the laws of mathematics and it can be supported by scripture, you got to let it go. Let it go. A serpent never talked to a woman in the garden. Snakes don't have vocal cords. Let it go. Let it go. There never was a time that the whole earth flooded.
Right.
And one ship saved 2 of every kind. Let it go. There never was no flood of the planet. It is a biological impossibility. If the rain that comes from the sky is nothing more than the renegotiation of the water from the earth.
Right.
You got 139,685,000 square miles of water on the planet.
Right.
Whenever the rain comes, all the rain is the water that was poured up by the magnetic appeal of the moon and the sun, purified, sent back down. So the rain is nothing more than the renegotiation of the water that already is here. But if the rain is the renegotiation of the water that was already here, and already here didn't flood the whole planet, how can some more come out the sky and do so? Noah's Ark is not actual facts. It has another meaning. Okay, I see y'all. Okay. Do you know that Noah's Ark was 450 feet long? And according to the scripture, he got 2 of every kind. 2 roaches. No, not 3. No.
Not 3. You got to go.
Only 2 fleas to get on. 2 gnats.
That's a lot. A lot of species.
Only 2 ants.
Can't fit all that.
Now, question. If Noah got 2 koala bears on the ark,
Right.
where did he get the eucalyptus leaves to feed them from? For him? And if he's getting 2 of every kind, some of the 2, he got 2 polar bears, right? And then he got 2 desert snakes. How do you have 2 opposite extremes on one ship? How do you have it below 0 on this end and 94 on the other? Come on now. It don't make sense. Do you know that mathematically compute, if Noah got 2 of every kind, at a bare minimum, he would have had 4,598 birds, 3,724 reptiles, 7,424 mammals, and not even counting insects, that would make 15,746 animals, reptiles, and birds on the ark. And the scripture says there was only 8 people there. You only got about 200 different animals on at a zoo, and you got hundreds of workers going crazy trying to say, so you telling me 8 people was managing 16,000?
Come on. You think about that, you're like, good God, that sounds crazy.
And according to the Bible, they was on the ark for a whole year.
Whoa.
So while they was on the ark the whole year, mating was going on. So what happened whenever the animals start mating with one another? After 1 year, just in birds, reptiles, and mammals mating, there would have been 5,646,694 animals and only 8 people on it. On a ship that's 451 feet long.
Oh, God. Oh, no. Yes, sir.
Can I tell you this for the sake of time?
Yes, sir. Wake us up.
Sir.
You are here at Mosque number 25 right now. This is Noah's Ark for Newark, New Jersey. This is Noah's Ark for Newark, New Jersey. The nation of Islam is Muhammad's Ark that God erected in a sea of sin. As an environment where you can come out of the wickedness of this world and be trained into being the original self you used to be. Now they say that the ark was built out of rusty nails and planks. And I want to submit to the believers, and I'm going to wrap it up. You got 4 different kind of nails that you can have whenever you go to do any construction. You got a rusty nail, right? If you got a rusty nail, you know a rusty nail can't take a lot of hitting. And if it does put it together, it ain't going to hold it that long. So the rusty nail ain't the best nail to use.
That's right.
But have you ever been doing construction and a nail, you hit a nail in a certain way and it didn't have no head on it no more? You can knock it all the way in, but if there's no head on the nail, it can't keep things together. So a nail without a head represents an ignorant believer. But what would a rusty nail be? The Holy Quran says, and let not your heart be rusted out. And of the hypocrites, we found rust on their heart. What causes rust? Rust is produced by the moisture in the atmosphere oxidizing a piece of metal that is not properly oiled or properly in motion. So it is with a believer whenever you're not studying, you don't have enough oil. And when we're not involved in the work, we don't have enough motion. The way to keep from becoming a rusty nail is you got to stay moving for the resurrection. And you got to stay feeding your mind the knowledge of the truth. You'll be too oiled up. Too much motion to ever rust out. Then they have another nail sometime when you're doing construction. You hit it a certain way and you don't hit it right and it bends. A bent nail is a nail that, or a believer that is present, but they are bending rules. They don't want to do it all the way right. All right?
Yes, sir.
A bent nail is dangerous in construction. Because it only can go in as far as the point is straight. But once it gets to the bend, you can't send it in no more. But if the thing that you're trying to hold together requires a nail that's 5 inches long, but the bend is at 2.5, then it won't be a good grip. And the ark ain't going to survive. There is one nail that works good for construction. And that's that straight nail. No rust on it. No bend in it. With his head intact. That represents the top soldier. The brother or sister that's living the law. Striving to save the day. And intelligent. You are in Muhammad's ark, you just didn't know it.
Go ahead.
All right, I knew this was going to happen. The other category that they wanted to make sure they controlled among the slaves was our diet.
Go ahead.
We touched on the difference between soul food and slave food, didn't we?
Yes, sir.
Do you know that you and I are what you eat?
Right?
A sound mind lives in a sound body.
Come on now, good teaching.
You cannot eat wrong and think right and think your thoughts will remain right. Thoughts are electrochemical energy. Y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Which means that thoughts are fast-moving fluid with electrical charge in it and information housed inside us. So whenever you eat food, the goal of digestion is to turn solid into liquid. In other words, take a thing that's a solid, break it down to a chemical form, and then it begins to travel through the 60,000 miles of arteries throughout the human body and delivers those chemicals to the different parts of the body that need those nutrients the most, including the brain. So if I'm eating bad food that has become a chemical, that chemical of a bad food has mixed with the chemical of a good thought and turned my good thought into not so good of a thought no more.
Yes, sir.
So in order to be right, we got to eat right and think right. Y'all still all right?
Yes, sir.
You and I will not be able to think right eating at McDevil's, the Murder King, the White Casket, Long John Killers, Taco Hell, and you will not be okay getting popped in the eye with that chicken sandwich, nor the one from Chick-fil-A. Do you know right now that because of the way that they've been growing chickens, that they've been able to produce chickens in 2.5 weeks from an egg to a full-grown chicken. Wow. And by injecting so many steroids and hormones into the chicken, now chickens are being born with mental illness. Yes, sir. Did you hear me? Yes, sir. Bipolar chicken. Yes, schizophrenic chicken. Did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
You got wings with multiple personalities now. And we are what we eat. Now stay away from it. Yes, sir. Stay away from it.
Yes, sir.
Last thing they said, they wanted to make sure, after religious instruction and diet, they wanted to make sure that they controlled our family relations. Breeding. What is breeding? Sex for baby making without ever intending on being a mother and a father to the child you brought into the world.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
A real mother and father, listen to me.
Yes, sir.
A real mother and father does not want their children to be like them.
Right.
A real mother and father wants their children to be better than them. Ever tell me? What they did during slavery, there was 3 things that they made illegal. One was praying. The other was reading. And the third was marriage. So now, we are cohabiting with one another, but we're not married. 55, 60 years old talking about that's my boyfriend. 72 years old talking about my going to go with my girlfriend's house. Last I checked, the definition of a boy and a girl is an immature, underdeveloped male or female.
That's right.
Once you look like 72 in a relationship with an underdeveloped, immature male.
That's right. Exactly.
In fact, we looked up the word boyfriend and girlfriend in the Bible and the Quran, and we couldn't find it. Well, wait a minute. Out of 2,000 translations of the Bible, 72 different translations of the Quran, we couldn't find the word boyfriend or girlfriend in none of them?
Don't exist. Yes,
What that means is that boyfriend and girlfriend is not in the language of God.
Right.
So who invented the term? It came from our enemy.
That's right.
So we got to get married. Marriage is not a 2-party system. Marriage is a 3-party system.
Ooh, yes, sir.
Another word for marriage is holy matrimony.
Yes, sir.
Another word for marriage is a sacred union.
Yes, sir.
Another term for marriage is a covenant connection.
Yes, sir.
When you look at the term holy, matrimony, sacred, union, covenant, connection, these are all spiritual terms.
Yes, sir.
Which means that God must be present in male and female relationships if they're going to last.
Yes, sir.
Marriage is a 3-party system, not 1 man and 2 wives or 1 wife and 2 husbands,
Right.
but a wife and a husband connected to one another, while both of them are connected to pleasing the God above them. That's what marriage must look like. If we desire to be able to follow the handbook for a runaway slave, we have to look at service of black people as service of God.
That's right.
We have to operate with uncommon valor. We have to be willing to be religious and spiritual, but not spooky. We have to forsake the white man's religious instruction. Any man that won't treat you right will never teach you right. Don't tell me that white man spent his life giving black people hell, and all of a sudden he's going to give you a religion that's going to get you into heaven.
Teach.
And we've got to abandon the diet of a slave and pick up the diet of God. Multiply that by being in a good, healthy, harmonious relationship. Black man with a black woman with a black man, converting our homes into spiritual recharge centers where we can unplug from this no good, wicked white supremacist world and come home to a place of pure love and extract peace and power.
Drop it, baby.
We do all of this, I promise you, we will be runaway slaves.
Yes, sir.
Free and independent to be ourselves. Thank you for listening. I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much, brothers and sisters. All praise is due to Allah. Not some of the praise, not most of the praise, but all the praise.
Go ahead. Teach. Teach.